Good morning, everybody. My name's Ed Suttie. I am a director within BRE in the UK, and I'm also project coordinator for the Forest Value project, CLICKdesign. Obviously, I'm very sorry I can't be with you in person today at the amazing venue and nature reserve just outside Koper in Slovenia. But obviously I'm very delighted that I can still participate and contribute to this workshop today. And that's thanks, of course, to our partners and colleagues at Renew. So thank you very much to them. Right, this morning my job is to talk to you about the CLICKdesign project, which is about delivering fingertip knowledge to enable service life performance specification of wood. For those that don't know BRE, we're a large science-based organisation headquartered just north of London in Watford. 500 engineers and scientists working across the built environment on fire safety and performance, wind engineering, structural technology and demonstration. And at the heart of it is the theme of sustainability and our sustainability standards, particularly BREEAM, our whole building assessment methodology. So let's think first about the motivation behind the CLICKdesign project. Picture, if you will, this architectural practice office here, and somebody's asking the question about how long a particular wood product will last. And the sorts of answers or things that people might be thinking about are quite varied. A reasonable working life is something written into certain standards and guidance documents. Certainly the product literature for certain products and innovations might have particular views on service life and performance aspects of the products. And then there's a whole diverse range of European and ISO standards, both from a very sort of technical durability point of view, but also from a service life planning and service life performance point of view, that can offer some guidance or views on service life and performance. But the combination here presents quite a confusing picture to the construction industry. So if we're struggling to answer questions about durability and performance of wood products in construction, obviously this has a number of risks associated with it. It can potentially provide disadvantages for timber compared to steel, aluminium, plastic and concrete and other materials who may well have quite advanced software in order to determine performance aspects of these relatively heterogeneous materials. In addition, if we think about technical specifications in building information modeling, so BIM, and also in life cycle analysis, which is critically based on service life data, if we can't answer those kind of questions for wood products, then again, potentially we are technically disadvantaging wood products in those systems and structures that many are familiar with now. And then finally, there is this point we wish to avoid, of course. We want to get the right products in the right place, so meeting expectations. And unfortunately, our disadvantage at the moment, if we can't answer questions on performance, is that we run the risk of having the wrong product in the wrong place. So what is the CLICKdesign project? The ultimate objective is to develop a software tool for architects and specifiers to enable performance specification for wood. So moving from this rather complex, fragmented and general position that we have at the moment to provide an easy to use, consolidated and specific tool in an accessible form. So within it, the CLICKdesign tool will combine decades of research, the complexity of the standard specifications that already exist, but it will also critically enable a variation of approach due to traditions, materials, and cultural aspects that across Europe. It is funded by the Forest Value Programme. There's a link there in the presentation. Forest Value Programme is an amazing collaboration of national funding organisations from across Europe, and they're currently funding 17 research projects in the forestry and the wood sector, of which CLICKdesign is one of those. So do have a look at that website. There may be some more projects of interest to you. So we're just over a year into our project. So it began in March last year and will conclude in February 2022. The partnership is critical here. So the research team is spread across Europe, as you can see through the diagram, from Scandinavia, the UK, Germany, Slovenia, France, and our new partner that has joined us since the project began in Spain. So BRE in the UK, the University of Göttingen in Germany, Lund University in Sweden, VTT in Finland, InnoRenew, of course, in Slovenia, FCBA in France, NIBIO in Norway, the Institute for Research into Biological Insects in France, and then we also have a practitioner group in the Hygiene Office in France, our new partner, the University of Vigo in Spain, and a direct link also to FP Innovations in Vancouver, Canada, to ensure that their learning around performance classification of wooden construction can help us develop as well. So a really strong and diverse, and really important to us as well is the support we get and the collaboration from our industry group. And again, you can see a very wide range of organisations there from across Europe, but also from across the sector, right from the sort of material and product manufacturers through to the architects and the engineers, through to the end users in some way. So the Finnish Transport Agency, for instance, is in there, as well as some of our other groups. And of course, Jelovica from Slovenia is there in terms of house building. So overall, the project looks like this. So we're going to have a look at the particular components of the project in a little bit more detail. But probably the most important thing for us to remember at this point is this central wheel here. So we have 3 different work packages there, which are based on the aesthetic performance of our wood products, decay and integrity, and also termite, insect and performance. So this is the first time in European research that these 3 elements that are all critical to ensure we get European-wide adoption of performance classification and indeed the tool, absolutely critical that these 3 elements come together to determine performance of our wood products. As I mentioned, we're going to have a little look now more closely at the components within the project. First of all, work package 1, which is all about positioning and the existing models. So much of this work has completed. So it has surveyed and critically reviewed the existing models to identify strengths and weaknesses. A comparison has been made between the existing models in terms of hygrothermal properties, biophysical decay, material resistance, and engineering design. And critically as well, it's studied the comparison of available input data, so the sort of consistency in the variables that go into these models, and how the output data from a model might contribute to what we're calling our superior model, which is where we bring all this together. So that's a really important task. Much of that work's been completed. We're very lucky as well also to have Christian Brischke, of course, on the agenda today at this workshop, who'll be talking about the modelling of the durability and service life duration of timber structures. And just some of those illustrations there show some of the projects and programs that have gone before and really have developed the platform to enable CLICKdesign to move forwards. So the Perform Wood project, Woodexter, the Wood Build project, and the Dura TB, Durable Timber Bridges program. Really building upon that past work. The second task is, having looked at those existing models, is about clarifying the significance of missing features. So existing models, by the virtue of their structure and how they've developed, of course can't cover everything at this point. So we have an opportunity, and this work's being conducted, again being led by the University of Göttingen, looking at filling in those gaps. What are those features that are missing that we think are quite critical in terms of the performance of wood in structures? So, for example, that includes looking at the impact of cracks, of weathered material, of material resistance, adaptation to in-ground situations, microclimates, the growth of vegetation around wood products in our buildings. And that product performance is being assessed against real performance and failure data in existing databases. So again, it's this opportunity to mine databases that already exist and extract that information that's really, really useful for us in terms of our modelling work. So again, we're very lucky to have Christian with us today to talk about some of those aspects of his work and indeed the work within CLICKdesign. Work package 3 is being led by our colleagues and friends at the Inner Renew in Slovenia around the aesthetic performance of buildings. So as the small images show at the bottom, this is a critical aspect where wood is used externally and out of ground contact, typically in cladding applications, but also decking and indeed in roof coverings. So the work here is quantifying the appearance of changes of wood surfaces. So it's turning this into real data to help us define the aesthetic limits, focusing on characterization of aesthetic aspects of building materials, numerical modeling of those visual changes as a function of deterioration and time, and numerical model mapping of the weather dose that the building surfaces are receiving. This is a critical component, of course, for integration into building information modeling and to help designers and architects understand the impacts of designs and how they might look after particular periods of weathering. And the task is going to develop a novel methodology for combining multi-sensor data, so that would include color and texture, roughness, etc., into a single model indicator expressing customer perception around satisfaction with with appearance. So this is a real sort of people-focused task as well. And of course, we're delighted to have Anna Sandak talking about the aesthetical performance of timber buildings on today's agenda, which is great. Work package 4 is the impact of decay on integrity, is being led by VTT in Finland. So this is primarily about understanding the effect of fungal decay on strength and stiffness of timber structures. So experimental studies are being conducted on the spatial distribution of decay in timber under lab conditions, considering material climate and collection of hygrothermal properties of different materials and wood species for the finite element analyses. So those finite element analyses will be about to predict distribution of moisture, temperature, relative humidity inside the wood, as well as moisture gradients across sections. This is really important work, but also, as you can see from the images, very practically embedded. We're very fortunate to have aligned with a Finnish national project called DigiMoist, which is expressed in that schematic you can see. But also we've got real data coming in from monitored bridge structures. You will recall the Finnish Transport Agency are one of our industry group partners. So that's great to have that coming in from the Finnish timber bridge structures. Work Package 5 is a measure of termite and insect performance. So this is the third component that comes together in our modelling approaches. And it's being led by FCBA in France. So studying the adaptability of existing models to create a measure of insect and termite performance to contribute to our superior model. So what are the parameters they're being identified that will influence insect risk, climate, moisture, accessibility to termites, and study of the performance of selected model construction materials against subterranean termites. So again, very practical laboratory test work, but also gathering information from right across Europe about insect risks. This will also, as all the work will be validated against reality checks for any of the performance measures that come out from the work. We're very pleased as well to have Magdalena Kutnik from FCBA on the agenda today, who will be talking about these emerging risks for insect infestation in timber structures, and particularly around climate change. So one of the things we're doing is, of course, mapping those risks across Europe, but of course we need to be mindful of the impacts of climate change and the possibilities of enhanced distribution of insect risk across Europe. Work Package 6 is being led by the Lund University, so the experts there, and is around the validation of models and development of the specification tools. So in a sense, this is the real beating heart of the project, where the work from all those previous work packages comes together, and it's about developing numerical models on the basis of the results from those previous work packages. Critically, those models will be validated against real case studies from across Europe. So this is real buildings, real construction products, real structures, and the validation of those most promising performance models under different scenarios for different structures and products. And the scenarios, of course, will vary with climate and exposure situations, with the biological hazard presence, the materials that are used, whether that's untreated wood or modified wood or preservative treated, the design, of course, and the performance type and the limit states. So that's whether features are going to be focusing mainly on aesthetic performance or certainly on functional or mechanical, or across all of those. So the primary output is going to be the development of CLICKdesign tool from this work package, and of course its integration into BIM. And today, I understand on the agenda is also a presentation of these prototype software tools developed so far within the framework. So this has been really helpful. So Lund started quite early on in this project to develop a prototype. So we've been able to review and adapt that as more information and data comes in. And that will be a critical part of what we do as well when it comes to piloting and testing the model with the industry group and groups of architects. So in summary, it comes together in this rather complex diagram, and you can see it's a series of different models that come together. Our exposure model, our decay model, the resistance model of the material, the insect model, the aesthetics model, and the strength model. And all those elements come together and, of course, interact into Work Package 6, and then ultimately the outcome, our CLICKdesign specification tool. So our expected results, so just to reinforce, we're primarily bringing together decay, insect, and aesthetics. So those three sort of qualities come together for the first time in a modelled system around performance for wooden construction. And that will be run through our CLICKdesign tool and integrate it into building information modeling standards to enable ease of uptake. And critically, of course, it will be validated both within the terms of the project against buildings and structures, but also through the use by architect groups and the industry group. Exploitation, of course, of these projects and programs is critical. We want our research, and the funders want our research to have maximum impact, and of course that links into how we're going to exploit it. So on the left-hand side you can see our research organisations and industry group, the project, and our 4 main targeted groups that we are reaching. So construction professionals, so as I understand it, that will be people like yourselves in the audience today. The forest-based industries, again, some of you will be part of the audience today. That's a critical group, of course, because it allows for adaptation and innovation. Standards and authorities, so we want to embed what we know and what we learn into the standards that get developed and issued, that shape and craft the built environment across Europe. And then our 4th group, of course, is citizens. I mentioned our objective of right at the beginning of us trying to ensure we get the right wood product in the right place. And we think, and we have this opportunity in this project, to help European citizens with that and to make that a little bit easier for them through a public-facing, simple tool. So we've got our professional tool, which is going to be for those primary 3 groups. It may indeed include authorities and regulators as well. And then we have our public-facing tool, which will be directly for European citizens. We're exploiting it through transnational communication. We have plans around training and education and workshops. Of course, we're validating it with pilots and case studies, and we have input through into our standards committees, both within CEN, European standards, and international ISO standards. Our public tool, we're going to reach out through social media conversations and have a campaign supporting that. That primarily is going to focus on how long will it last, or if you like, how long do I want it to last? So that might be for fencing products, for decking, for cladding, for some of those kind of programs and projects that the public get involved in. We've done quite a lot already in our first year around these transnational dissemination ambitions, both working with groups of organisations, informing about the programme and the project and where it's heading, publications and articles across the academic press, but also the industry press and the forest-based sector press. And then, of course, we've got our LinkedIn groups and social media as well, which is helping support some of our public outreach. We're, of course, very open to suggestions where we can do more. Part of that is at today's event, but of course we're delighted to write articles and to present particularly to industry groups across Europe. So yes, please do come forward if you have some ideas or thoughts about that. Some of the coming highlights. So we are increasing our influence on standardization work. So that's primarily in CEN committees at the moment, particularly through working group 28 of TC38, which is focusing on performance classification of wood. So that's really underpinning this ability to specify the performance of wood products through European standards. I mentioned just a moment ago, in the next 6 months, we'll be issuing our public-facing tool. So that will be issued on our website, free to access, which will enable selection of the right wood product and the right end use. We're also utilising our wider European networks to get that publicised and used across a broader European perspective than the partnership. And that will partly include some of the text being translated into all the national languages of the European Union. The professional software tool, so for the architects and construction professionals and indeed the forest-based industries, will be issued nearer project conclusion, having been validated through the real case studies of timber buildings and structures, and also working with architects and the industry group. And we will be continuing our support for young researchers. So already in the first year, CLICKdesign has supported 14 students in their bachelor's, master's and doctoral studies, providing great opportunities for young researchers, and we wish to continue to do that. We collectively believe as well in the incredible opportunity for timber and construction. In times of climate emergency, the material that has the lowest embodied carbon should be the preferred choice. We know there are a number of issues that can hold timber back, and we are firmly tackling one of those around performance and durability. So one of our really broad ambitions is to underpin the continued growth and use of wood in construction in this incredible array of forms and materials and products across Europe that you can see in these few illustrations and many, many more. And then that leads us nicely on to our impact, so our project impact. Fundamentally, we want to increase market confidence with users for selecting wood as a reliable product. So this is about enhanced performance of timber in the built environment, but an understanding of performance of timber in the built environment. Clearly, we are looking for a resilient future, so adaptable for features not yet integrated into specification. We know that climate change will have a significant impact on some of the challenges presented in the built environment around performance, and potentially around, as we saw earlier, around insects and distribution. So we want to have a system that can adapt to that and integrate to ensure a resilient future. We want to inspire new wood and wood-based products. So the forest products sector is coming up with some incredible products around durability and performance and specification. And we believe that helping and underpinning this performance-based specification will inspire and continue to support that. We might improve digitized technical specifications for BIM and for LCA. As we said earlier, that's critical around service life. We certainly want it to be in the right language to enable construction, local authorities, nations to meet ambitions around delivering low carbon construction. And we firmly believe that can be delivered through performance-based specification of wood. It's supporting fit for purpose, so the right products in the right place for specification with the wider public and citizens. And also we think it will facilitate reaching beyond what I would call a timber supporting construction professionals. So those architects that might not be as familiar with timber or may never have designed in timber, we think it will start to help them bridge that gap and move to timber. So our request to you, just to wrap up, is please stay in touch as we work further on piloting the tool and creating a more confident performance-based future for wood in construction. It would be great if you wanted to get in touch to join our industry group and to help us shape and steer and test that tool over the next 18 months. My email address is there, of course, but feel free, of course, to contact through the other partners and, of course, your local host today at the Inner Renew Centre. The website is there. We're also on social media. We welcome all opportunities to publicise and interact on our work. So yeah, please do get in touch and join us. And then finally, I would just like to say thank you very much indeed to Inner Renew for organising this workshop today, and thank you indeed to the Forest Value funding mechanism which has supported CLICKdesign, and you can see there the list of all those national agencies that are funding the amazing partnership in this project. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the workshop.